Welcome to Mongolian Made Easy, the podcast that teaches you how to speak Mongolian in a fun and effective way. I'm Aku, your host and guide for this learning journey. Glad you're joining me today. In this episode, we'll go over 2 suffixes that are used commonly in day-to-day conversation. Being aware of these suffixes will tremendously help with your grammar and spelling, but also will help aid in your hearing and listening practices as well. So let's get started. The first suffix that I'm going to talk about today is attributing suffix. So think about attributing an object within the sentence. In English, we use my, his, her, their, or your. So in Mongolian, these suffixes are not necessarily a separate words. Sometimes it's usually just attached to the object noun itself. So let's take an example. And this one that I'm going to talk about specifically is when the object belongs to the subject of the sentence. You'll see what I mean. So the first example is I read my book. I read my book. So my book, my is attributing the object book and claiming it, this is mine, right? So in Mongolian, I read my book will be bi nama unsung. Bi nama unsung. So bi is I, unsung is read. Nama is now my book. So nam is just book on its own, but now it's I read my book. So it's bi nama unsung. So with that ah at the end of the book there. So the second example is she finished her homework. She finished her homework. So now she finished her homework, right? Her is the attributing suffix here. It's a separate word. In Mongolian, it would be tir dalora dosung. Tir dalora dosung. So tir is she. Dosung is finished. Dalora is homework, but now dalora is her homework. So bi nama unsung tir dalora dosung. That would be my book, her homework, right? So the third example would be Bolt locked his car. So someone locked his car, right? So now in Mongolian it would be Bolt. So now Bolt is Bolt, the name of the guy. Tajasung is locked. Now his car is Machina. So it's a machine na. So you notice on all these 3 examples, the object of the sentence now has this addition suffix at the end of itself. So nam turned into nama, dalor turned into dalora, machine turned into machina. So there are 4 suffixes because there are 4 vowels. All these suffixes are made up of vowels here. So there are certain language rules in Mongolian that some of these vowels can't really be used as a suffix. So like vowel u is not necessarily used as a suffix. So hence why you don't see 7 suffixes even though we have 7 vowels in Mongolian. So there are only 4 now. It's a, 2 letter a's, a. So we say it slightly longer. We call it long vowels, right? A, and then second one is a, third one's a, fourth one's o. So it depends on what kind of noun is being used as the object, and that's what determines which suffix to use. Obviously, you want to match the vowels. So I don't know how far you are in your Mongolian learning journey, but there are female vowels and then masculine vowels. It's not as quite intricate as some Italian and words have many different options to pick suffixes from, but it's not like that in this case. It's much more simplistic. So if your object noun has vowels, o, ya, yo, which is more like the masculine vowels, then you use a. But if it's masculine but with vowels a or yo, ya, then you will use the suffix a. And similar case for the feminine vowels, e, u, I, ye, would use the suffix e, and then the nouns with vowel o would use the suffix o. And don't worry about missing all this information. You can check out the website, and I have the notes there if you want to reference. So there are a few spelling rules here that I want to go over. Because we're looking at these suffixes, it's kind of easy to miss some of these details when you start writing and also trying to listen to these words more clearly. So the first spelling rule is when the noun, the object that we're attributing the suffix to, right? So if the noun ends with 3 letters, which is consonant, vowel, and consonant, then the vowel between the 2 consonant will drop when you add the suffix. So, for example, homework in Mongolian is dalor. So dal, kawar. So ve, a, ir is the last 3 letters. Ve is consonant, a is vowel, ir is consonant. So dal, kawar. But when you add the a suffix, now it's dalra. So the last a vowel is dropped. So that's the spelling rule. The second rule, when you add these suffixes, you look at the noun again, and if it ends with the short, which means just a single vowel, then that short vowel will drop when you add the suffix as well. So let's say a slide. The word slide in Mongolian is charak. Charak, so it's che a ir ge a. So the last letter is a. It's a vowel, so when you add the suffix long a, then it's charka. So that last a vowel of the original object noun is now dropped. So you might think, okay, but there are words that end with long vowels, right? Which you know, so what happens? So when you have these nouns with 2 vowels and then you're trying to add 2 more vowels, there's 4 vowels, and you can't really have that in Mongolian. That's just too long of a vowels in a row. So the letter ge is inserted between the long vowel and the suffix. So an example would be the word for tea in Mongolian is te. And if you want to add the suffix now, it's te plus a, right? But in the word form, it'll be tega. So last spelling rule I have for you today is if the noun ends with the letter soft e, or in Mongolian we call it zulnitindik, it looks like an upside down P if you know the Cyrillics. So this letter, when you add a suffix, it's replaced by letter E. So word for sheep, for example, in Mongolian is hun, and that's the word that ends with zulnitindik. And if you want to add the suffix, which would be a in this case, so it will be hun plus a, so it'll be hana. But now it's kia in, which is the original letter, and then the zulnitindik, which is the last letter, is replaced with e, and then a, hana. But remember, the long a is now just one o, so it's kia in, e a, hana. That'll be it. Alright, now that we looked at the first suffix, let's look at the second one. It is still the attributing suffix, but now it's a separate word, and it's when the object belongs to someone else other than the subject of the sentence. So for example, if I want to say I met their representative, so the object is the representative and it's not the subject. So I met their representative, right? So in Mongolian it would be B тэдний төлөөлөгчтэй уулзсан. B is I, төлөөлөгчтэй is representative. So now it's a separate word that kind of comes before the object noun of the sentence, right? I met their representative. So another example could be, he fixed my bicycle. He fixed my bicycle. So in Mongolian it would be, so is fixed bicycle, tid is he, and now the word my is mini. So mini dog is my bicycle. And again, the word my, mini, is going in front of the object, doi, or bicycle. A third example could be, Sarah or Sarah ate your food. She ate your food, right? So your food is the word we're trying to explore here. So Sarah teni holik itsung would be the Mongolian translation of the sentence, and then Sarah is the name, holik itsung is ate food, teni holik itsung. Now word teni is your, and again in Mongolian your can mean can be expressed in two words, because there's respectful word for you and then just your peer. You use it for someone who's not older than you or same age as you. So you can say Sara teni hotlигитсэн or Sara chini hotlигитсэн. So teni is the respectful you or your. Chini is the peer your. So Sara teni hotlигитсэн or Sara chini hotlигитсэн. But as you can see, it's more easy and there's no like rule for spelling or when to use spelling, because when to use which suffix, because now it's a separate word. You just put it in front of the object noun. You just need to know which word means what. So at least from the three examples we went through, there is tidni, my is mini, or sometimes you can use mane if the object belongs to your whole family. So mane is like ours, right? And then your can be teni or chini, and you put it in front of the object. So hope that helps. And if you want to check your spelling and be more proactive in your grammar learning, I suggest that you use these two tools that are available for free. First one is a spellcheck.gov.mn. It's a Mongolian spell check app that you just need to type your words in Cyrillics and then click a button to see if you have any grammar errors. It works pretty well. And the second one is a grammar dictionary. It's toli.gov.mn. So if you want to just see a single word and how it is transformed when you add different suffixes, this one's pretty helpful because it gives you all the different variation that word's going to turn into, and let's get added more suffix at the end of it, and it'll show you that when you look for the word. So I recommend these two tools. If you forget what are these links are for, it's on my website under Advanced Mongolian Dictionaries and Other Resources. So moving on to the second suffix, which is directional suffix. So now, instead of attributing the object, think of directing towards or to or at the object. right? So, for example, you can say kids are looking at the bridge. So now at the bridge part of the sentence here in Mongolian is gur. So gur is the bridge and lu is at the. So gur harchben. Another sentence, for example, could be the truck is headed to Darkhan City, right? So the truck is headed to Darkhan City, right? So in Mongolian, it would be Achani machine Darkhan Hotro Udullo. Achani machine is the truck. Darkhan Hot is the Darkhan City. Hudullo is headed. And then Hotro. Darkhan Hotro is to Darkhan City. So you notice these suffixes are after the object, and it's written separately from the word, so you don't have to worry about the grammar and spelling rule this time. But there is a certain condition in which you can use these suffixes. So if you are using the object word and the object word is comprises of these vowels a, or ya, you, ya, which is like the more masculine vowels, then you would use the suffix ro. And ro is compatible with most of these object nouns, except for the ones that end with ir. Because now the object word ends with letter ir, and the suffix starts with ir. So there's double ir or r situation going on. So to fix that, only for the nouns that ends with letter ir. So for example, in our example, it was gur, right? So gur ends with letter ir. So you wouldn't say guru. You would say gurlu. See that? Guru is wrong. Gurlu is right. So only when the noun ends with letter ir, then you would use lu or lo. But all in the other cases, you would say ro. So hotro. That was one of the example that we used. Similar case on the feminine vowels, so e, u, i, or sometimes ye. On those words, you will use ru. So, in the same case for this one as well, if that word has these vowels but ends with letter ir, then you still have to use lu. For example, shop would be dilgur, and it ends with letter ir. So if you want to say to the shop, then you have to say dilgur lu, not dilgur ro. That just doesn't roll right when you say it. So those are the only cases that when you use it. But if you feel confused, just please look at the podcast note and it'll make sense. And then also, if you use the spell check software, the website that I mentioned, it'll also help you check that for word as well. So I've been getting some feedback on this podcast. Most of them were very positive, so thank you guys so much. But if you have more suggestions, let me know. But one of the things that I heard as a feedback was maybe adding some fun facts at the end of the podcast, so just like a quick little fun fact for you guys to take home with you. So I guess in this episode I'll start with one with a funny story that happened to me personally. So thank you, Ruby, for suggesting this great idea, by the way. So the first knowledge nugget I'm going to share with you is one of the tradition do's and don'ts. So there is a thing where if you step on someone else's foot, you must always shake their hands with that person to show that you're not an enemy to that person. There's even proverbs that, like, when you are an enemy to someone, you basically have like this idiom where like your feet is against that person or something like that. So basically, when you step on someone's foot, you shake hands, and it's not obviously universal to every country, right? So when I first came to US as a student, I forgot that I was in America for a minute, and I stepped on someone's foot while I was trying to walk into my next classroom, and I just, out of my, reflex, I just like grabbed this guy's hand, and then he was so confused and kind of scared of me, but I don't know. Right now it's a funny story, but it's also kind of shows that, like, when you are somewhere else, these things that you just do without thinking, it's not a normal thing. But if you are visiting Mongolia, please do remember to shake the other person's hand if you actually, even if it was accidental, you still have to shake their hands. And even if you don't know that person, it's not weird when you shake their hands because they know and you know that you guys have stepped on one another's foot. So that's a fun little nugget that I'm going to share with you today. So thank you for tuning in today. Summary of all episodes are on my website, so please check them out and let me know if you still want to see more resources. Also comment about how you've been enjoying this podcast, and also some feedback on the website as well too. And because I update it with a collection of other helpful tips and links to aid your learning journey, so I would really appreciate your feedback. And if you find this podcast helpful, please share with your friends, family, and colleagues. This podcast is available for free on Spotify, Apple, Audible, YouTube, and mBook. Thank you all for the feedback on the previous episodes, and I will continue to incorporate your feedback. So please keep them coming, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!